Starts with a quick word from FanDuel. The NBA Finals in full swing. If you bet on Tyrese Halliburton to hit a buzzer beater in this series, you could have got 41-1 odds, and he was 0.3 seconds away from hitting that yesterday. But those are the kind of props you can find on FanDuel. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We start, though, with the Cleveland Guardians, guys, and more specifically Shane Bieber, who was scratched from a rehab start yesterday due to elbow soreness. In the group chat, Jason and Jay, you guys made it seem like it's not too much of a reason to be concerned. This is relatively common for a guy coming off Tommy John surgery. So for anyone who's less familiar with that process, can you give us a little insight into why this may not be as big of a deal as it seems on paper for a pitcher trying to recover from an injury that caused him?
I think it's more common than not at this stage.
It is. I'd be more concerned if he didn't.
Right. After the first start or two, typically they feel soreness. It's not that big of a deal. Shut him down for a week or two. I think he'll be fine. That's why I've said all along, to me it was August, and late July, early August is what I've always felt was a realistic timeline for him. He's obviously way ahead of that schedule, but I don't think it's that big of a deal if they shut him down for a week or two. I highly doubt there's anything structural in there or anything that he's damaged again. It's just fatigue and getting back and doing this. So I was not at all alarmed. I sort of expected to hear something like this at some point.
I wanted to ask you this question because I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody in the organization. I certainly haven't talked to Shane. This is just, I'm trying to connect dots.
Yeah.
He is eligible, if he wants, to leave after this year.
Yeah.
There was a 2-year deal with a player option after one. If I'm Shane Bieber, I'm counting dollars that I've missed, not that I have. Right. That's the way these guys work,
Absolutely.
by the way. And it seems kind of counterintuitive, but that's the way they do it. With the exception, by the way, of David Carr, who we're going to be talking about at the start of our Channel 3 show. He's done something that's very rare in today's athletics, so that's a little tease for you. You're going to want to watch that. But Shane Bieber's counting dollars that he's missed, not that he has. He wants, the whole idea is to get to free agency as quickly and as healthy as you can. I'm wondering how much they're letting him drive the bus, because if he comes back July 1st, and that gives him, 20 starts? I don't know.
I think it's more like 14 or 15.
Okay. He's thinking about, boy, if I can come back and go 9-2 with a sub-2 ERA, that proves that I'm back and I can hit the market and get my bag. So I hope that's not the case, and here's why. The doctors always know best.
Yep.
I thought, and you probably went through this too, with my knee rehab, the first time my ACL, I kept telling doctors, we're going too slow. We're going too slow. I can handle more. I'm telling you, I know my body. And we started to push a little bit, and the next thing you know, I'm running literally on a treadmill, and I tore my meniscus. And the doctors looked at me and said, this is why we go slow.
Yeah.
This is why. We know. This is the first time you've gone through that. We've gone through this with thousands of patients. We know the timetable. We know everybody's different. We know that you being younger and maybe more athletic than some, you can handle a little bit more. But they were right. I've had 3 arm procedures. I've tried to come back way too soon each time because I'm an impatient soul. I'm not chasing money. I'm looking for enjoyment.
Right.
I want to play. And each time, if they told me 30 tosses from 90 feet, and this was like step 3, 30 tosses from 90 feet, I would do 30 tosses, and if it felt okay,
540.
I'd back up 10 feet and throw 10 more.
I'm at 40.
And you know what? I paid for it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that doesn't feel good. That doesn't feel right. They want to push you to the edge of soreness and then stop.
Yeah.
The only thing that scares me about this, Jay, is that they announced a couple days ago that it has been pushed back from Thursday to Friday, then scrubbed altogether. Typically, the soreness will go away relatively quickly, as long as it's something minor.
Right.
So I'm not terrified by the fact that they're slowing things down. I'm actually encouraged by that. And I totally agree with you. You have to go. The pain is going to be there. That arm, which he's used regularly throughout his entire adult life, has now been put in a cast, so to speak. Yeah, when you break out of it, you're going to have, there's been a lot of atrophy. As you rebuild those muscles, that produces lactic acid, that creates soreness. Let's hope that's what this is.
I looked at it, looking at the statistics, they said a re-injury of a Tommy John surgery is somewhere between 10 and maybe 15%.
Very low.
So it's very low, which, usually that's the thing that, had the ACLs. And there's always one point in time where you go and you're doing something, and you're back, and your knee kind of gives out a little bit, and you're like, oh, I tore it again. They lean on the fact that re-injury of your same knee is not as high. They're like, no, we're not really worried about it. What it is the muscles aren't firing. Your muscles are atrophied. Your quads, your hamstrings, you're trying to make moves, and you don't never know that the fact that you use all those other muscles to fire around them. So it could, like you said, be a situation where it's just the fact that he hasn't used those muscles in a long time. They're not really worried about it's going to tear again because the rate is really low for re-injury. But they're just trying to get him to a point where now you can start to compound. And the toughest thing is doing it day after day after day, being on a routine without having swelling or pain. And they want you to get to the point where you can do it and you don't have any pain or discomfort. And the second that you do, they're going to shut you down, which is so frustrating because he's probably thinking, I'm close as hell. I'm there. Yeah. I'm above, I'm above schedule. I have no pain. And then all of a sudden it hits you that one time. And sometimes I'm glad he says something because sometimes people won't say anything just because you got to. Bro.
I think they're smart enough to know you got to. Now, it's not foolproof. There are guys who have had major complications. Mm-hmm. We're going to have an Astros guest on later, Luis Garcia. Of the Astros has been out 25 months now.
Wow, I
following
forgot him.
Tommy John.
I forgot about him.
He had it in May.
Everybody did.
He had it in May of 23, and he still hasn't thrown a pitch.
Yeah.
And the Astros medical staff is just in shambles right now. We can talk about that later. So there is a chance that it's something more. But until we have more evidence, I have to believe it's just the soreness. The standard return from these is 14 to 16 months. He's at the front end of that window right now.
Do you remember his surgery date? Was it May or June?
No, it was April. Shane only made 4 starts.
Well, I know it happened early, but for some reason I thought that there was a delay before they did surgery.
I think that they waited for some inflammation to go down, but I'm almost positive. Mikey, can you look it up? I think he was in April.
Well,
that was in April. Tommy
that's
John
beneficial.
A Bieber surgery?
Yeah, I thought for some reason I wanted to say that he waited a month.
No,
and it happened in May.
I don't think. I think it was a couple weeks.
It's so funny because different organizations and even with different pitchers, they use different timelines. When Lively went out, they said 12 to 16 months. I've seen 12 to 18 months.
I think for the most part, I mean, I've talked to people over there. They were looking at 14.
April.
Yeah, April for Shane.
Late April?
April 23rd.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they were looking 14 to 16 month recovery. He's on the very front end of that. We're not even to the full 14 months yet.
He's at 13 months right now.
And he
a little past it.
He has vigorously attacked the rehab, which is not uncommon for guys. Right. I think what you said is a lot of the reason why it's a big contract year for him. He knows he's got to get back. Personally, if he's back without any setbacks and soreness, if he's back at the end of June or if he's back in the middle of July, I don't think it's going to – if he pitches well, that's enough.
Yep.
That's all they need to see. All they want to see is that he's healthy and that he can command his pitches.
Yep.
And he will get paid. So I do think this is probably Shane's last year here. I think he opts out at the end of the year unless something goes wrong. So enjoy him while you got him. And hopefully you have him for a long postseason run here with the way that they're positioned
Hasn't
right
that
now.
become our mantra? Enjoy him while you got him?
Enjoy him while you got him.
That's what Dolan said about
Frankie. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish him the best. I hope he takes his time. I know I've met Shane. I've talked to him enough to know that he's a bulldog.
Yeah.
And that's why he's so great. Because
think about
every
the pain
pitch is a grind for him.
The pain that he pitched through.
It was torn when he was and he was pitching.
Dominating.
He was like he had 10 or 11 strikeouts and was upset when they took him out of the game.
He was cooking.
And the thing of it is, I know that mentality. I know the second he went under the knife, he immediately was counting backwards. Okay, 14 months, April. So by June 23rd, because I'm going to be on the front end of the recovery. I want to show that I'm that guy.
And he was on pace to be on the front end. With the way when they started the rehab clock, he would have been back at the end of this month. It would have been very close to the 14-month side of it. I just think, just knowing, John Means, I think, went through this when he had it with Baltimore, and he had a couple setbacks. He was an August guy. I just think April Tommy Johns tend to lean more toward mid to late July to early August type returns. I've thought that all along. So, This
Yeah.
is no reason for concern.
Now, let's hold our breath that that's all it is. And that we
Right.
don't get word, because he's meeting with the doctor. They're going to poke and prod. They're going to do
That's
tests.
fine.
They're going to take a look. I think everything in
The
the
more
end will be
important
fine.
part for Shane, I know we got to move on. I think in his rehab start, he was sitting 92, 94.
Yeah.
And that's not as high as, back in the Spider Tack era, he was 96, 97.
He was throwing the ball. I don't remember him throwing the ball. He was
yeah.
up there like
Oh,
that.
Yeah, he had great velocity, great movement, great placement,
And
everything.
but he was
why he was
trending.
Cy Young.
He was trending up. He lost his velo for a couple years, and last year at the start of the year, it was trending back up into those 95, 96, 97, and he got hurt.
Yeah.
So I just hope if he has success at 92, 94, stay at 92, 94.
Right, yeah.
Don't try and reach for 95, 96, 97.
And he's not a thrower. He's a pitcher.
Yeah.
He can have success with that. As long as he's in the low 90s, occasionally humping up and hitting mid-90s, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think there's a big problem. What stinks about this is you can see real signs of the starting pitching starting to click.
Oh, yeah.
All of these guys, within their last start or two, have shown the ability to go into Yankee Stadium and throw a shutout. Even last night, which was a loss, and we'll talk more about that down the road, but even last night, you're seeing that all these guys now are hitting their stride.
I'm really impressed with Ciccone. I think he's
Oh,
really
I am
good.
too.
Yeah.
I feared what would happen after the no-hitter got busted up, because you have that temporary
Right,
lapse,
right.
and then the next hitter hit the home run,
Yeah.
and you could kind of tell it took him out of his game. More guards talking just a little bit, but Brett Chauncey from Locked On Astros, right, is going to join us to talk about the weekend home series. Houston's in town. In fact, tonight's game will be on WKYC. Locally, you'll be able to watch it for free here on Channel 3.
Yep, coverage starts at 7 p.m. For that, on WKYC, you can find all your Guardians versus Astros coverage pregame right here on Channel 3. We'll also be on Channel 3 at 12:30 for the second part of our WKYC show today.